Today, we gathered to open the Beacon Expo in Conference 2025, the Blue Economy Annual Conference and Exhibition. This year, we carry the theme, Protecting the Ocean, a Catalyst for a Prospering Blue Economy. It is a theme that reminds us that safeguarding our seas is not only an environmental duty, but also an economic opportunity that strengthens our maritime nation. The event also supports the annual observance of Maritime and Archipelagic Nations Awareness Month, or MANAMO, held every September pursuant to the Presidential Proclamation number 316 series of 2017.
Our distinguished guests at the at the stage, may I greet Secretary Hans Leo J. Katdak and Secretary Christina Frasco. May I greet as well my partner, our partner in this activity, the Marina Administrator, Honorable Sonia Malaluan. Representing the Executive Secretary, Secretary General Andres Centino. May I greet also Assistant Secretary Alex Lopez. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As we culminate the month of September, which is the Maritime Archipelagic Nation Awareness Month, or MANAMO, we host this 3-day conference on the Blue Economy. This is actually our third Blue Economy Expo and convention. It is truly a great honor and privilege for the Maritime League to host this Expo and conference where maritime science, maritime businesses, policymakers, the community, and of course, surrounding and protecting everyone, the uniformed services of the Navy and the Coast Guard. We come together to chart a sustainable course for our oceans, for our coasts, and for our rivers. Today, we stand at a critical point. Our blue resources power livelihoods. They drive commercial activity, and they anchor our communities. Yet, they face complex challenges, from climate change and the creeping invasion of our exclusive economic zone in the West, to unequal access to opportunities and to capital. This Expo is more than just a showcase of our capabilities and our goods. It is a platform for collaboration, for exchange of ideas, and for concerted action. Together, we will illuminate pathways that embrace economic growth with ecological stewardship, social equity, and resilience. Over the next 3 days, you will view 263 booths. As you can see, medyo makipot na yung daanan. The pathways are getting narrower because of the many booths that we have. They display maritime industries, education and training, the Coast Guard, the Navy, and at the same venue, I hope it's starting today, but at the other end of this SMX, we will have tomorrow we'll be joined by Marino World, where they will have a job fair for seafarers. I encourage you to engage with our exhibitors, ask questions, and seek collaborations. I'd like to offer my special welcome and thanks to our partners, to our sponsors, to our exhibitors, and to the volunteers whose generosity and hard work have made this event possible. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Blue Economy Annual Expo and Convention 2025. May our time together be inspiring, may it be transformative, and of course, may it always be enduring. Thank you and good morning to all.
To our Presidential Assistant for Maritime Concerns, Secretary Honorable Andres C. Centino. To Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Honorable Hans Leo Capdap. To our Tourism Secretary Honorable Cristina Garcia Frasco. To the National Maritime Council Vice Admiral Undersecretary Alexander Lopez, sir. To the Maritime League Chairperson and President Vice Admiral Eduardo R. Santos, sir. To our to Ambassador His Excellency Ambassador Ionis Piodotis, to other government officials, to our private maritime stakeholders, members of the diplomatic corps, colleagues from the maritime industry, both from public and private entities, distinguished ladies, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to each and everyone. I would like first to thank, of course, the Maritime League for having the Beacon on its third year. And Marina has been a consistent partner and supporter of this exhibition. This Beacon or this exhibition continue to provide venue to showcase developments and trends related to maritime safety, marine environment protection, shipbuilding, ship repair, and other blue economy initiatives. We are once again excited to be part of the Beacon 2025 as it extends its scope to include matters related to even overseas shipping and manpower development or human resource. I would like to invite you all to the first ever Philippine Shipping and Shipbuilding Expo and Conference or PhilShipCon that is also happening simultaneously with a Beacon and will take place this afternoon as one of the main conferences of this event. Aside from this, we will be hosting the Maritime Safety Conference 2025 and the 5th Marine Environment Protection Forum during the Marina Day tomorrow. The Marina strongly supports the Manning Expo and conference hosted by the Marino World, which will tackle pressing issues and concerns relative to our Filipino seafarers. On the other hand, our agency also recorded a total number of 131 shipbuilding and ship repair entities in the year 2024, which is equivalent to 6.5% increase compared to the records in 2023. The Philippines continues to be a part of the top 5 shipbuilding nations in the world. But of course, the difference between the number 4 and the number 5 is undeniably huge. In terms of ship registry so far, we only have 97 Philippine registered vessels, which is considered as a big drop from its peak 35 years ago. In this light, I invite everyone to be on board as Marina sails to the journey of isang layag sa bagong Pilipinas, where we actively push for the passage of our priority bills in the 20th Congress. And these are our SBSR Development Bill and the Ship Registry Bill. We were able to find champions and we continue to look for more supporters in the legislation that will support the integral development of the maritime sector pursuant to the Executive Order Number 55 on the effective implementation of the Maritime Industry Development Plan 2028. Beacon allows Marina to showcase the agency's priority plans and programs such as its legislative agenda, capacity building, and even research and development projects, among others. Marina remains committed in enhancing maritime safety and promoting marine environment protection through a strengthened compliance monitoring of ships and our intensified awareness campaign. At this time, I would like to take this opportunity to invite those interested companies and entities as Marina or the Philippines through the Marina targets to participate in the Posidonia 2026 in Athens, Greece, and be part of this historic event. In closing, I highly encourage everyone to enjoy the exhibits and learn from various fora or conferences in the next 3 days of the Beacon 2025 here at the SMX Convention Center. Thank you and mabuhay ang industriyang maritima.
Thank you. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. First, I'll greet my colleague in the cabinet, Secretary Cristina Frasco, and of course, Secretary Centino, and Administrator Malaluan of Marina, and Vice Admiral Santos. Sir, good to see you. Yusek Lopez. And the organizers, the Maritime League, maraming salamat po sa paanyaya dito sa amin. At isang karangalan namin na makasama dito sa event na ito, Manning Expo and Conference 2025. We'd like to think na sa Department of Migrant Workers, when we speak of the blue economy, and when we speak of the maritime sector and maritime industry, we always see this through the lens of protection and welfare for seafarers. Just adjacent to this hall, I understand there's a lot of display ng hardware and maritime equipment, but just adjacent to this hall, I understand there will be a job fair. And lining up along the pavement in front of the SMX are prospective seafarers. So we always are reminded and always see things through the lens of protection of our dear seafarers. Sa DMW, ang trabaho namin, essentially threefold. First, we do policy work. And just recently, of course, together with Admin Sonia, we developed the IRR implementing rules and regulations on that which establishes, institutionalizes, recognizes seafarer rights and protection. We are a signatory, ratifier. We are the 30th member state to ratify the Maritime Labor Convention of the ILO. And so dapat lang na sa DMW, kami ay nagsasagawa ng mga patakaran tungo sa proteksyon at pagtaguyod ng patakaran ng karapatan ng ating mga tripulanting Pilipino. We are still recognized as the #1 seafarer of choice by ship owners across the world, and we truly are appreciative of the long-standing partnership, not just with the ship owners, with many flag states such as Greece. So Ambassador Pidiotis is here, sir. My warmest greetings to you as well. And to the stakeholders who are here, you will know very well na katuwang po natin ang mga stakeholders natin through social dialogue and tripartism, the formulation of these policy measures. We're braced to issue the sea-based rules that govern the hiring and protection of seafarers at the DMW. And among others, there will be a landmark set of rules governing the deployment and protection, welfare of fishers. Ito po ang pinaka-vulnerable sector, I would say, in the seafaring maritime sector. And we are braced to definitely throw the mantle of protection on our dear OFW fishers. Second role in the DMW is our role on regulation. Kaya't sa deployment, accreditation of principals, documentation of seafarers, looking at contracts of seafarers, and making sure that they are monitored in terms of their well-being on board and on shore in ports all across the world, ay nandoon ang DMW. Kaya tayo rin ay katuwang ng law enforcement sa pagsugpo ng illegal recruitment at human trafficking ng mga seafarers and fishers. And there are certain cases along these lines. Kaya sa regulation, mahigpit po tayo para siguraduhin na up to international standard ang hiring ng ating seafarers through our sea-based group in the DMW, our pre-employment processing center, and our labor attaches overseas posts across the world. Lastly, sa DMW kami ay nasa larangan ng welfare and protection as I mentioned. Ang isang marching order ng ating Pangulo, hindi lamang seafarers ang pagtatanggol natin, kundi pati mga pamilya ng seafarers. Kaya sa araw-araw na ginawa ng Diyos sa DMW, kami po ang nag-handhold. Kami ang nakakapiling ng mga OFW families, lalo na yung mga pamilya who are in distress. In closing, let me share 2 quick stories that is exemplify the commitment of the Marcos administration in terms of protecting our seafarers. I just came from the United States, dun sa United Nations General Assembly, at may nakilala po ako dun na seafarer na naging comatose due to very high blood sugar sa isang puerto sa US. Awa ng Diyos, nakarating na siya, stretcher case, fit to travel, and now kapiling siya ng kanyang esposa, ng kanyang mahal sa buhay sa isang ospital sa San Juan. But rest assured, we are supporting the family, and together with the ship owner and manning agency, we are supporting the progress and medical treatment of our dear seafarer. The second story I can tell you is that about a week before I went to the US, dinalaw po ako ng isang dating cruise ship worker. Siya ay umiiyak, luhaan, pagpasok sa office ko, at siya ay nagdadalang tao. Due to complicated circumstances, hindi niya ninais na magdalang tao, at ang kanyang situation is kinakabahan siya kasi wala siyang sapat na pondo at suporta para sa anak niya sa sinapupunan. So, we assured her through our OFW hospital in Pampanga, huwag kang mag-alala, libre lahat, at bibigyan ka pa namin ng financial assistance bilang pantawid para makabangon ka at maka-move on pagkatapos mo magpanganak. Lo and behold, about 3 weeks ago, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Sagot ng lahat ng DMW, OFW hospital ang kanyang panganganak, and even postnatal care. And mother and child are safely recovering, and we look forward to having her on board one of the ships that hire Filipinos, and she will once again become a productive part of the workforce as she rears her young daughter. So yun lang po, gusto ko lang ibahagi ang assurance mula sa inyo na we at the DMW are doing our part. Regulatory, policy work, and welfare and protection of our dear seafarers. And we're proud to have the Maritime League and the government and stakeholders present here as our partners. So maraming salamat po, and have a happy National Seafarers Day and happy National Maritime Week. Thank you.
Mayong buntag kaninyong tanan. Good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be here in the presence of all our distinguished guests from the diplomatic and consular corps, from the men and women in uniform, my colleagues in the cabinet, and of course, the very hardworking members of the Maritime League, to all the exhibitors and sponsors present. Since many of the acknowledgements have been made, I'll go to the meat of my message today. We gather today at the Beacon Expo 2025 at a decisive moment. Our seas carry the livelihood of millions of Filipinos, from seafarers across ships around the globe, to dive guides across our coasts, to workers in our ports and communities that depend on maritime trade and tourism. Few nations are as defined by the sea as the Philippines. But heritage alone is not enough. The challenge for all of us here is to turn our heritage into greater opportunity for our people and greater national pride by building ports that can compete globally, expanding cruise destinations that inspire, and safeguarding our marine resources for the heritage of generations to come. For me, this is not an abstract concept. I come from Cebu, where the sea is a way of life. I'm a former mayor of a coastal town in Cebu, and from a province that builds many of the ships that have plied oceans around the world. And I myself am a diver. And so I have witnessed the majesty of our seas as well as their fragility. Our waters not only hold beauty, but also immense responsibility upon all of us. Because the Philippines is only one of only 18 mega biodiverse countries in the world, home to more than 500 species of corals and more than 2,000 species of fish. To protect these resources is not only an environmental duty, but an economic imperative. For they are the foundation of both tourism and our maritime future. Tourism proves that the wealth of our resources can support the livelihood of millions. Last year, tourism contributed no less than 3.86 trillion to our national economy, accounting for nearly 9% of our gross domestic product. More than this, tourism sustained nearly 7 million Filipinos in direct employment. Domestic trips, on the other hand, saw 134 million trips across the Philippines, contributing 3.1 trillion pesos to our national coffers. These numbers are not debated. They are lives. They're boatmen in Bohol, divers in Cebu, vendors in Palawan, tour guides across destinations in our country. Despite the challenges that our nation faces, tourism has continued to deliver. On cruise tourism, this year we are welcoming 125 ports of call across nearly 40 island destinations in the country. Next year, even more ports of call are scheduled, expanding to destinations never visited before by international vessels. Through our cruise visa waiver program, which we have instituted together with the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Immigration, we have simplified entry procedures, making the Philippines more attractive to global cruise lines and easier to reach for thousands of passengers. Each ship that docks not only brings in tourists, it brings livelihood, investment, and pride to coastal communities. And let us remember that many of these ships are crewed by Filipinos. Our seafarers and cruise workers, men and women who carry the Filipino spirit to every ocean and every port, are the backbone of our maritime economy. Their skill, their discipline, and their warmth are among our greatest assets. And when the world sails, it sails with the strength of Filipino hands and the hospitality of the Filipino heart. On dive tourism, the Philippines holds the distinction of being the world's best dive destination for the 6th year in a row. To sustain this honor, we are investing in safety and resilience, installing hyperbaric chambers across our popular dive destinations in the country, together with our infrastructure arm, TIEZA. On infrastructure, again with TIEZA, we are protecting our island destinations by putting up seawalls, water systems to safeguard health, and access roads to connect port to destinations together with DPWH. We are constructing tourist rest areas across the country that are safe, modern, and convenient for travelers. And through our Tourism Champions Challenge, we're crowdsourcing tourism infrastructure proposals from LGUs across the Philippines, granting upwards of 255 million to 399 million pesos in collective grants for LGUs across the country. On connectivity, we continue to work with airlines to open and sustain new routes to our islands. Because in an archipelago such as ours, air and sea travel must work hand in hand. And on our people, our greatest asset. The Filipino Brand of Service program of the Department of Tourism continues to train tourism frontliners, including those in our ports, ferries, and dive shops, with over 345,000 frontline tourism workers trained so far under this program. All of these efforts remind us that tourism is a shared responsibility. It is the work of government, yes, but also the pride of our communities and the contribution of the private sector. And so, in these times, let us not add to the noise of doubt, but to the chorus of voices that speak of the good of the Philippines. Because millions of families depend on tourism. Because every port we modernize, every reef we protect, every community that we empower brings us closer to a stronger and more sustainable future for all of us. That is the message of this expo, that maritime and the tourism industry must move forward together, that stewardship and progress must go hand in hand, and that together we can chart a course where the Philippines is not only a maritime nation, not only a tourism nation, but a nation that leads the blue economy with pride, resilience, and with hope. To the Maritime League, I extend my congratulations for convening this extraordinary gathering of vision and resolve. May Beacon Expo 2025 leave a legacy of unity, where we build upon our heritage with purpose and where we declare that the Philippines, strong and steadfast, will always be a nation that thrives because of the sea. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan, and may our seas remain, now and always, an eternal bridge that unites us all.
Vice Admiral Eduardo Mar Santos, the President and Chairman of the Maritime League, and if I may add, my esteemed flag officer in command when I was still in the Naval Service. Distinguished guests, fellow public servants and workers of government, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant and wonderful Maritime League morning to all. It is my singular honor and privilege to introduce to you this morning our guest of honor, who to me is quite extraordinary. Our guest of honor is the first Presidential Assistant for Maritime Concerns appointed by our President, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. on September 29, 2023. He reports to the President on critical and urgent matters and issues affecting the country's maritime security and domain awareness. He is also the head of the Presidential Office for Maritime Concerns, the office that serves as the Secretariat and tasked to provide consultative, research, administrative, and technical services to the National Maritime Council. A cum laude graduate from the Philippine Military Academy in 1988, he rose from the officer corps of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, holding different staff and command positions both in the Philippine Army and at the General Headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. He became the 64th Commanding General of the Philippine Army in May of 2021. And soon after, capping his military service as the 57th Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines from November 2021 to August 2022, and as the 59th Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines on January 2023. You heard it right, 2 times as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Our guest of honor holds a master's degree in management from the University of the Philippines and a Master of Science degree in National Resource Strategy from National Defense University in the United States. Recipient of numerous AFP medals and other recognitions, our guest of honor also holds the distinction of having been awarded the Officer of the French Legion of Honor for having served as the cornerstone of the growing relationship between France and the Philippines in the fields of defense and security, particularly on maritime security. He is the only AFP officer who has received one of the highest French distinctions given in the name of the President of the French Republic. Friends, join me and welcome the first and only Army General designated as the Presidential Assistant on Maritime Concerns, our very own extraordinary Secretary, Secretary Andres Castor Centino.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat, mayong buntag, and good morning to everyone. Let me begin by acknowledging the dignitaries here in front. Secretary Frasco of Department of Tourism, Secretary Gakdak of the Department of Migrant Workers, Administrator Sonia Malaluan, our host, Vice Admiral Santos, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, again, good morning. Let me take this opportunity to thank, first of all, the organizers of this event, Beacon Expo 2025 and the Maritime League, led by Admiral Santos and Admiral Marayag, sir. Good morning. For bringing us together for this very important gathering. We also commend the group for aligning this event with the celebration of the Maritime and Archipelagic Nation Awareness Month, or MANAMO, this September. As you've heard, this is a mandate that all government agencies are required to celebrate every September to ensure that the public is aware of our nation being a maritime and archipelagic Philippines. With this year's theme, Protecting the Ocean, a Catalyst for Prospering Blue Economy, we recognize the vital role of our oceans, not only in our economy and security, but in our identity as a maritime and archipelagic nation. Today, I will briefly highlight the challenges confronting our maritime domain, the government's collective response, and the importance of collaboration and cooperation in securing our maritime future. The Philippines is undeniably a maritime nation with more than 7,600 islands and a coastline over 36,000 kilometers. Our maritime domain is 7 times larger than our land area combined. These waters are not just geographical features, they shape our culture, livelihood, national sovereignty, and identity. Our maritime jurisdiction covers internal waters, territorial seas, the contiguous zone, our exclusive economic zone, and the extended continental shelf. Areas which are now clearly defined under the Maritime Zones Act or Republic Act 12064, legislated last year, in line with international law and UNCLOS. This law strengthens our legal basis in asserting our rights over our maritime territory. Our blue economy is a major driver of development. In 2024, it was valued at over 1 trillion pesos, or around 4% of our gross domestic product. The fisheries sector produced 4.26 million metric tons worth 329 billion pesos. Our ports handled 2 million containers and over 130,000 ship calls. And it is projected by this year that cargo throughput is projected to exceed 300 million metric tons. And we have over 500,000 or 500,000 Filipino seafarers continue to power global shipping. From fisheries and tourism to offshore energy and biodiversity conservation, the maritime sector is central to our economic sustainability and prosperity. The vast expanse of our maritime domain and the promise of the blue economy is, however, under serious risk due to several maritime challenges that we have to face, from external aggression, lawlessness, and environmental degradation. The most pressing concern is the continued foreign intrusions in our waters, notably in the West Philippine Sea. Over 250, or not less than 250 Chinese vessels have been regularly monitored within our waters in the past year. These intrusions violate our sovereignty and sovereign rights. They disrupt the livelihood of our fisher folks, damage marine ecosystems, and obstruct legitimate economic activities. Such incursions undermine food security, national stability, and the blue economy itself. Another persistent challenge is illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. From 2022 to 2023, around 107,000 metric tons of fish were caught illegally in the different fisheries management areas, impacting over 2.3 million registered fisher folks, many from vulnerable communities. And nearly half of these IUU activities in the western part of our EEZ are attributed to foreign vessels, particularly from China and Vietnam. Smuggling is a major issue due to our long and porous coastline. In 2024, the Bureau of Customs seized 85 billion pesos worth of smuggled goods, including drugs, counterfeit products, and contrabands. The Department of Finance estimates potential losses from smuggling could reach 150 billion pesos this year. Our seas are also used by drug syndicates. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency reports that 80% of illegal drugs enter the country via sea routes. Fishing boats, merchant ships, and even floating drug parcels are being used. Notable cases include a recent 10 billion pesos shabu haul in Zambales. Maritime routes are also exploited for human trafficking, particularly through the southern backdoor. In 2022 alone, more than 500 victims were trafficked through these routes. Environmental degradation compounds these issues. In 2023, over 14,600 metric tons of plastic waste ended up in our waters. Coral reefs and mangroves continue to face damage from both natural and man-made causes. According to the UP Maritime Scientific Institute, we are at a very critical point where climate change and pollution threaten irreversible ecosystem collapse. On top of this, as we learn from our collaboration with the Maritime League, we are also faced with industry-specific challenges such as port congestion, the shift to low-carbon shipping, seafarers upskilling to raise the competence of the maritime labor force to be at par with international standards. Importantly, also is the security risk associated with maritime tensions we are facing in our maritime domain and the maritime crimes happening globally. These threats, earlier mentioned, are interlinked, and no single agency or sector can address them alone. That is why the government adopted a whole-of-government, a whole-of-nation approach. The following slides will show the important responses that government is collectively undertaking to address the challenges we are faced with. A key step was the issuance of Executive Order Number 57, Series of 2024, last year, which reorganized the National Maritime Council, created the Presidential Office for Maritime Concerns, consolidated maritime functions across 12 cabinet-level departments, which is being chaired by the Executive Secretary, Secretary Bersamin. My office, the office acts as the secretary to the council, supporting the work of the council in aligning maritime policies, coordinating actions, and enhancing maritime domain awareness. This reorganization empowers agencies like the DOTR, the DILG, the Philippine Coast Guard, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Bureau of Fisheries, and others to operate under a unified maritime strategy, covering security, sustainability, and economic development. We are actively asserting our rights and maintaining presence in our seas. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine Coast Guard have continued to or expanded their patrols and joint activities with international partners. We have joint sails with our allies and partners under the maritime cooperative activities platform. Support is also being extended to our fisher folks operating within or fishing within our exclusive economic zone. Diplomatic protests are being lodged for every violation of our rights. And our occupied features remain secured by our security forces. We have actually 8 occupied features in the West Philippine Sea. And since 20 years ago, our Marines, our Navy, our Coast Guard have continually occupied these features until now. We are also finalizing the crafting of the National Maritime Policy and the National Maritime Security Strategy, our long-term framework for protecting sovereignty and promoting sustainable development. Scientific surveys also being prioritized, not only for research, but to substantiate environmental claims and guide government policy. The UPMSI will soon submit their latest findings to the Council. Last year, we also passed 2 key legislations. I mentioned earlier the Maritime Zones Act, which defines our maritime boundaries, and the Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act, which governs navigation to our sea lanes while safeguarding national interest. These laws fortify our maritime governance and help ensure that we are ready to enforce, protect, and manage our maritime domain. And pursuant to EO 57, we are intent in enhancing our maritime domain awareness capability in order to effectively secure our waters, sufficiently enforce all maritime-related laws, and rightfully protect our sovereignty. We are also advancing strategic communication to counter disinformation and false narratives. All maritime-related government messaging will now follow a single communication policy. And relatedly, last year, the Council designated a spokesperson. We have Undersecretary Lopez, who is now designated as the National Maritime Council spokesperson. To raise public consciousness, we also institutionalized, or the government institutionalized, Maritime and Archipelagic Nation Awareness Month, or MANAMO, every September. That's why we are celebrating this event in the month of September. It's actually more than a celebration. It is a call to action for all Filipinos to embrace our maritime identity and responsibilities. May I also take this opportunity to advertise and tell you that our office is we're having a Sea Nihan. It's a short film video contest that it allowed us to gather 31 entries, and you can actually visit the website shown earlier. The previous slide, nandito ba? At meron din tayong mga programs ng iba't ibang agencies in line with the celebration of MANMO. Beyond these, collective and collaborative approaches continue to be explored, knowing that for every challenge comes opportunities for government and the private sector to work together, including practitioners from the maritime industry. While government has laid the foundation, securing our maritime domain and unlocking our blue economy, or unlocking the blue economy's full potential, requires everyone's cooperation and support. The Maritime League has long been a partner in these efforts. And moving forward, we invite stronger collaboration across sectors through initiatives like joint workforce development, modernization of our ports, and enhanced logistics systems, as well as in acquiring responsive shared data platforms. We must also enhance resilience, whether facing natural disasters, cyber threats, or geopolitical risks. We need integrated surveillance, responsive logistics, and robust maritime infrastructure. And most importantly, we must protect our seafarers. This was the call earlier of Secretary Kakdak, representing a big portion of the global maritime workforce. They are the backbone of our maritime presence worldwide. Protecting Their welfare is both a moral and economic imperative. In closing, let me emphasize that these challenges are not abstract. They affect our food supply, the environment, our security, the economy, and ultimately our national future. The government, through the National Maritime Council, the Presidential Office for Maritime Concerns, and our partner agencies are working tirelessly to address these issues. But this is not government's responsibility alone. It is the duty of every Filipino who values our seas, our sovereignty, and our shared future. As we gather at this Beacon Expo 2025, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to protecting our oceans and coastal communities, securing our maritime domain to enable a thriving blue economy, strengthening partnerships across government, industry, the academe, and civil society, and building a resilient, future-ready maritime Philippines. With your support and with firm resolve, we will uphold and advance the maritime and archipelagic interest of the Philippines. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.